Hello everyone, I wanted to make a video to explain why on some applications, and in this example it's KSP, the single thread performance of CPU matters. So for this example I have ordered 3 chips with a huge part count into physics range. Each of these chips has a part count of around 800 parts, so we have 2400 parts in physics range. And you see we have a little bit of a slideshow here. We have 6 to 7 frames per second, and the physical time ratio is about 25%. So to get real time or 25 frames I would need 4 times the computational power or performance. So what system is this? This is a Core i5 4th generation, 2 years old to 3 years old, and it has a GeForce GTX 750 medium range graphics card, which is also 2 to 3 years old now. And the graphics card is even more doing the OBS encoding. However, it's using NVENC, which uses a dedicated chip on the graphics card, so it doesn't pull off GPU performance. Now you would say, oh, GTX 750, it's too slow for KSP, but KSP is not really GPU demanding. Can show it by pulling in the GPU utilize window, which has a utilization of around 30%. So you see that the GPU is not even close to the limit. It's doing 60%, 70% of the time it's doing nothing. And so it's not the GPU that limits me to 6, 7 frames per second. Well, when it's not the GPU, it's maybe the CPU. Well, let me pull in the task manager. It says 50%. So there's 50% air. It could run with the double frames, so with 12 or 14 frames. Why I don't have 12 or 14 frames now? The GPU is not on the max, the CPU is not on the max, at least it seems so. Why it is not running faster? Well, to explain, this is a little bit of a single thread problem. A single thread problem is when you have computational dependencies that leads to the fact that you cannot share or put the problem onto multiple cores in parallel. This means you have problems that only can be calculated on one core. If you have multiple cores, it doesn't really help. And to explain such a problem really simple, I made a little example. Just imagine you have 4 cores. Imagine 4 cores are 4 guys with a calculator each. And imagine for rendering the world in KSP, you may need to do 9 calculations, for example. For 1 frame, you need to do 9 calculations. And when you can do them faster, you have higher frames per second. Now you would say, okay, let's put the first 3 on calculator calc 1, the second 3 on calc 2, and the last 3 on calc 3. However, in this case, this does not work. Why does it not work? Each frame you get something random data. The world has changed, you get new data. So you cannot calculate it before. And the way this is set up is that you get something and just do any calculation. I just do +1 and you get solution 1. And to do the second calculation, you need the solution 1. So you cannot do the second before the first. And you cannot do the third before the second. And you cannot do the second before the first. So in the end, you need the solution of the calculation above. This leads to the problem that you only can do it in this order. You cannot do anything parallel. You must do one After 1 you must do 2, after 2 you must do 3, after 3 you must do 4, but there's no chance to parallelize this. So even if you have 4 guys with calculators, it doesn't really help, because only one can calculate. Yeah, and imagine the calculator guys need 10 seconds for one calculation, this needs 90 seconds. How you can do this faster? Well, you can accelerate it if your calculator or your Core 1 runs faster. If it only needs 5 seconds time or runs double as fast, you could do it in 45 seconds. However, it doesn't help when you have more cores. You need a core that runs faster. More cores doesn't help, you need a core that runs faster. And the flight scene in KSP is such a problem. You can see it even more when I pull in the Process Explorer window from sysinternals. And KSP is a Windows process. In my case, I play it on Windows. It's using 37% of my system CPU power, which means it utilizes 1.5 core. If it would utilize 2 core, you would see a 50% here. If it would utilize 4 cores to the max, you would see 100% here. But it only utilizes 1.5 core. And we have really low frames, so it would be cool if it utilizes all 4 cores, but it can't. The problem is, you see this process here in the threads window. A process contains multiple threads. Threads are these things that can be shared among or put among different cores in the same time. So multiple threads, hyperthreading, is a good thing, or multi-threading, not hyperthreading, is a good thing, because you can put thread 1 on core 1, thread 2 on core 2, thread 3 on core 3. But in this main thread, there seems to be a computational problem which is similar to my example. You cannot do the calculations in another thread. If it would be possible, I imagine that the squad or Unity guys would have done it. So this thread runs on the limit. The limit is 25%. Remember, I have a Core i5 with 4 cores. This means 25% utilization is the limit of 1 core. And you don't see 25 because there is a little bit overhead because of Windows and the scheduling. But this is 25%, it's on the limit. See, the other threads, they are not even close to the limit. They are doing some companion calculations that can be put on another core. But the main load of calculations is in this thread. And as I said, a thread can only run on 1 core. One thread cannot be put on multiple cores in parallel. However, this thread will schedule that it runs one cycle on core 1, the next on 3, 2, it's different. Windows will put it wherever's the lowest load. But you see, when you add up the threads, you get this value. And to show it even on another approach, I can do the following. I say KSP only uses 1.5 core. This means when I pull away cores from KSP, which I can do in Windows, which I can do in general, I say, here you can see KSP may now use all 4 cores. I say now, well, you may now only use 3 of my cores. And you will see that the frames will stay on 6 to 7 and the utilization will stay around 35-36%. Click. Nothing changes. So KSP doesn't run slower because it only has 3 cores now. Well, I do it once more. It only uses 1.5 cores, so I take away a second core. So KSP only may use 2 cores, but it's okay. It only uses 1.5 anyway. 6 to 7 frames, 35%. Well, to see that this really matters, I will now take away a third core. So then this process can only utilize 25% of my system power. You will see that this goes down to 25% and the frames should be dropped even more. And you will see that in the situation now, the main thread is using one CPU core mainly, and the other companion calculations are done on the second CPU. However, you have a little bit overhead because of thread scheduling, so you see a little bit, it's not 24 anymore, 22. But well, you will see now, if I only allow KSP to use one core, performance will drop. 25%, 4 frames. So one core is too few. Because it has multiple threads, so it can use 2 cores. Flight scene. So I give it back a second core. And I'm back on my maximum performance. 7 frames more I won't get in the flight scene. Because the way the calculations need to be done, there's one main thread which is on the speed limit of 1 core. And the rest are on the second core. Now I can add, see I have 7 frames, I can give it back the full 4 cores and you will see nothing will change. KSP is happy in the flight scene with 2 cores. 4 cores, no change at all. So in the end, the flight scene is heavily dependent on the single thread performance of a CPU, because it only utilizes one CPU to the max. This is this thread here, and a second CPU with a little bit, but a little bit isn't even close to 25%, so it doesn't even utilize the second core fully. It only utilizes 1 core to the maximum. And the good thing is, when you have a CPU and you want to know your single thread performance of this CPU, you only need to Google passmark and your CPU. Passmark i7 970, for example, for first generation i7. It's a fast CPU in overall. You will see that it has overall 8,500 points. But the single thread rating, it is a 6-core CPU. So the overall performance is more or less the single core performance times the cores. More or less. So 1 core has a performance of 1300. In comparison, this is first generation i7, a little bit older. My i5 is also 2 years old. Let's check these values. It is slower than the first generation i7 overall, but the single thread rating is 2050. So in this specific KSP, the Core i5 runs 30% faster than the i7 in this specific single thread problem. And 30% faster means that you have 30% more frames in KSP. And just to make it even more seeable, I just don't have the correct word now, take an i3, 4th generation, also 2 years old. It only has 5,000 performance points, so the first generation i7 is almost doubled, well, not double, but it is really faster than the i3. But the single thread rating is at 2100. This means when you only have a single thread that is calculating, the i3 is faster than the i7, because the i3 only has 2 cores and the i7 has 6 cores. But the problem is, when I only can utilize 1 core, it doesn't help if I have 2 or 6. It needs that the core needs to be fast, and the i3 is faster than the i7 in this case. And Yeah, I think that this is the most I wanted to say. You can stop here. Maybe because we have everything open, we could do some more tests with KSP. And what I wanted to say, if you have a single thread problem, you must take a look on the single thread rating of the CPU. You can compare these numbers between the CPUs on CPU benchmark. So compare the first generation i7 to the fourth generation i3. You see the i3 would run 3 times faster if you have a single thread problem. Now I also need to say there are other games out there or applications that can utilize 3, 5, 6, 12 cores or threads. For example, if you zipping or 7 zipping files, I think it utilizes all 4 or all 6 or 12 threads you have. But KSP isn't this way, you can see here. Yeah, I would say that's it. I will, maybe for the ones who are interested, could do some more testing. Now we have the task managers open here. I focus on KSP, you see, oh god, I'm getting a crash. You see, it is utilizing one core, mainly, and a little bit of another. I can't, yeah. And if I go back, for example, to the Space Center, you normally see that it's only using one core now and even less from the second. Here, it's only using one core now. Every additional core doesn't help. Now, okay, now we are way below 25%, I think. Yeah, we are on 17. So now it won't even utilize one complete core. But I'm going to the VAB, and on the loading screen again, it's using one core to the maximum, because the loading is a single thread problem once again. Let's load up the Dev Mountain King with its 800 something parts. Utilization is 25%. Let's maybe try to put a little bit more stress by copying that. The editor screen is, sometimes you can see that it utilizes 20, 25%, 15, 15. So the editor screen can take advantage of multiple cores at some times. However, if you control Z or control Y, it still again uses only one core. So if I maybe just do some crazy stuff, and now I press Control Z. Now you can see that the companion threads get a good amount of work. So this is good. This is a problem which can be parallelized. So you take advantage. KSP can now utilize 50% of my CPU resources, which is good in this case. It can multi-thread better in this case. But when I now hit Control Z, the game freezes, cannot do anything. You see one thread is working, the rest is doing nothing. So again, single thread bottleneck. You see this windows, just wait. Mostly it's just calculating. Don't click on close KSP. Or I press Control Y to make it again. It's hanging again. You see again one CPU at the maximum limit. The rest is doing nothing. Just wait. Don't close it. It just calculates. So yeah, well, now again it seems to utilize more. I would to bring it more to the maximum, however, I don't really know how I could duplicate it in a crazy manner fast. think I can't touch it because it has node attached. Yeah, I would need something with surface attached. I would need an attachment node. However, I maybe can do... Where is this thing? So, could I attach it even with... Yeah, I could. So I can be that I kill now KSP. I've alt clicked and copied this thing. I need to wait. Again, single thread problem in this situation. 25% limit on one thread, the rest is doing nothing. Unfortunately, I have 3 more cores which could calculate, but well, they can't be utilized. I only have to wait. I wouldn't wonder if it will get back. Normally it should. Come on, KSP. Don't stretch this video. Well, maybe it was already too much. However, I think I could show what I wanted to show. For KSP, check the single thread performance of your CPU. Maybe if you have an older system, compare it with something new. And if you see an advantage about 30%, then you will get in KSP advantage about 30%. Because, yeah, it's the way it is. But it's important to see for KSP the single thread performance. The overall performance doesn't help you because it only utilizes one thread. However, I think now it is crashed. Does it memory leaks? At the moment it seems to. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think this were too much parts now. However, we are on the end. Yeah, I wish you have fun with KSP and bye bye.